Confucius said, "A superior man does not seek satisfaction in food and comfort in living. He is diligent in his work and cautious in his speech. He actively seeks guidance from people of high moral standing. Such a person can be considered someone who loves learning." When discussing a love for learning, there are three instances in the Analects where specific individuals are mentioned. The first is Confucius himself. Confucius said that many people are faithful and sincere like him, but they do not share his passion for learning. At first glance, this may seem confident, even a bit arrogant. However, this statement actually reflects his recognition of his own inadequacy and his need to continuously learn. This humility is precisely what drives him to be more passionate about learning than others. The second person in the Analects, who is described as loving learning, is Confucius's student Yan Hui. Once the Duke of Lu, Duke Ai, asked Confucius, "You have so many students, which one is truly fond of learning? Or who among them loves learning?" Confucius could have listed many names, considering he had 3,000 disciples, 72 of whom were masters of the 6 arts. Instead, Confucius was straightforward and honest. He said that there was only one student who loved learning, Yan Hui. Unfortunately, Yan Hui did not live long. Confucius was already over 71 years old when he made the statement, and Yan Hui had passed away at that age. Confucius described Yan Hui as someone who does not hold grudges and does not repeat mistakes, a representation of Yan Hui's love for learning and his moral conduct. The third person Confucius mentioned as loving learning is a nobleman, Kong Wenzi. He was perceptive and loved learning, never shying away from seeking guidance from those in lower positions or with less experience. He did not consider it shameful to ask for advice, regardless of the other person's age or social status. He would inquire from anyone if he did not understand something. The passage contains 3 key points. First, do not seek full satisfaction in food or comfort in living. Being content with simply having enough to eat and a place to live without requiring luxury suggests reducing material desires. Since time is limited, spending too much time pursuing material wants leaves less time for learning, as one becomes busy satisfying various external demands. The second point is related to speech and action. Be swift in action and cautious in speech. Being agile and attentive in action and careful with words is something most people find challenging. Often we are slow in action but quick to speak, saying things without thinking and not following through on them. Confucius had students like this, whom he reminded not to speak too quickly but to act first. These points relate to a love for learning because they demonstrate the cultivation of virtue and continuous growth. The third point, associate with those who walk at the path of virtue and seek their correction, involves reaching out to those with high moral character and asking them to guide and improve oneself. A young person who can do these 3 things is considered to have a love for learning, according to Confucius. The purpose of loving learning is not merely to gain extensive knowledge or to show off one's breadth of knowledge in conversation. Instead, it is about integrating knowledge into one's actions. Through practice, one confirms and solidifies the insights gained from learning and continues to progress. Confucius's student Zilu had a similar attitude towards learning. Zilu would hear something and fear he would not be able to act upon it before hearing more. He worried about being unable to put into practice what he had learned, so he preferred to hear less until he could achieve what was discussed. Listening and speaking alone do not constitute true learning. Practice is essential to cultivate a love for learning. Regarding Kong Wenzi's love for learning and his willingness to seek guidance from those in lower positions, Confucius said, "When 3 people walk together, there is always something I can learn. I select the good qualities of one to follow and the bad qualities of another to avoid. This statement is a timeless truth. Confucius taught that whenever several people gather, there is always something to learn. We can find positive qualities to emulate and negative ones to avoid. Seeing another's poor behavior should prompt self-reflection, not ridicule or criticism. Instead, one should assess oneself to see if one shares similar faults. Often it is easier to notice others' faults than our own. Jesus once said, "Why do you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye but fail to see the plank in your own eye?" While religious figures may speak in hyperboles, their teachings carry profound truths. When discussing Confucian love for learning, it encompasses profound meanings and can be summarized as a guiding principle for living a moral life. Learning should not be done for show but for self-improvement. This aligns with Confucius's statement. Ancient scholars pursued learning for themselves. Today's scholars pursue learning for others. Confucius's ancient scholars refers to the scholars of the Shang and early Zhou dynasties, while today's scholars refers to those of Confucius's time. Learning in ancient times was for self-improvement, while in Confucius's time it was for showing off. We should emulate the ancients and pursue learning for self-improvement to perfect ourselves.